Hatito Nwekanye, Maya Netesifo, Suwanwanila. Today I'm going to be talking about native joy. The last time I went on one of these big, like, indigenous spiels, it was not about a fun topic. It was about a very sad topic. We did learn a lot last time though. But today we're gonna have fun. We're gonna talk about a fun thing. We're gonna celebrate a good thing. The Met Gala. Everyone is talking about it. The theme was America and people interpreted it in a lot of different ways. Some of them were actually like really poignant and had a message, and some of them were just kind of like there. But that's fine. Kim Kardashian wore a dress that suggested that her body, without her face even attached to it, is American or a part of American culture. Nikki Tutorials wore a dress that referenced the first woman to throw a brick at Stonewall, and Lil Nas X was a golden robot. There probably is something deep going on there, but mostly I just think that it looked really, really cool. Maybe actually like the whole process of removing the big, soft, pillowy coat to reveal a harsh, cold, metallic structure underneath is actually like referencing America. Like, maybe it's a symbol of our immigration policies juxtaposed against like the myth of the American dream. Probably not. I'm probably thinking about this too much. But literally my entire Instagram feed is basically just full of this woman and people saying that she understood the assignment, and also one person who wants her to step on them. Live your truth. But who is she? And is this like actually the only native designed outfit that wound up on the Met Gala carpet when the theme was America? Because that wouldn't make any sense, at least not to me. But anyways, let's dive in. That probably looked super lame. This dress was designed by Peter Dundas and it's part of the Dundas X Resolve collection. Peter Dundas is Norwegian by birth and he spent most of his life growing up in Iowa with his mother's family. Was that Iowa? Indiana. He grew up in Indiana with his mother's family. He actually started out his career as an assistant costume designer for a French theater, the Comédie de Française. You might recognize his work because he was at one point the mind behind Pucci. That's where I recognize him from. I love that brand. I actually didn't know his name until I did the research for this project, but I love his work. I've admired it in the past. And you probably have too. When speaking about his collection, Dundee said, "The collection is definitely inspired by the 70s and 80s. A lot of Debbie Harry, a lot of rich fabrics, and since we're showing in America, I really wanted to have an American touch. So a little bit of Western inspiration, a little bit of Buffalo punk." Is that what we're calling it? Is that a thing? He seems to have coined the phrase Buffalo punk because like I googled trying to see like some kind of reference before then and I could not find one. So if you've heard this term used before, please let me know because I am fascinated by it. Buffalo punk, we're making it a fashion movement. Let's go. Anyways, this collection is actually really asymmetrical, which I was not expecting because this Met Gala look is so symmetrical. The way that it's styled, the way that it aligns with her features, it is very like left and right identical, but then I see a lot of these beautiful movement and asymmetry moments happening in the rest of the collection. So that I found really fascinating. There's nothing else to it. I just found it fascinating. Another thing about this collection, I wouldn't have, looking at it, known that there was any kind of indigenous influence, and he kind of was subtle about it. Even when he spoke about it, he said Western and Buffalo punk. So it wasn't necessarily on the forefront of the design, but there's that whisper through it. Because there's like an attitude that he clearly was inspired by and clearly wanted to replicate. And it just feels kind of nice to think that someone looked at native culture as a whole and made something this cool after being inspired by it. That makes me happy. He also didn't do anything like really on the nose or offensive or dumb like a lot of designers will try to do like under the guise of art. So I appreciate everything about this. The stylist for this look was Tabitha Simmons. She's an editor for Vogue and a director at Tanner Kroll, which is like a leatherworks and bag company. I actually really like their little suitcase bag. She's from Cambridgeshire, England, and she clearly approached this styling with willingness to learn and humility because I genuinely would have guessed that the stylist for this was native. Like, I was not expecting to find out that the stylist and the designer for this look were white. White. It's a weird term. Honestly, this is the level of like cultural understanding that I strive for in everything that I do as a costumer, because this styling, literally, myself as a native person who is obsessed with native art and fashion, could not tell that this wasn't styled by a native artist. So good job, guys. Quannah Rose's whole team clearly like respected her and understood her and like communicated with her, because it just Anyway, Gucci Westman, who did her makeup, was also a white woman? Like, Quannah Rose is just surrounded by white ladies who know what they're doing, and that is so shocking to me. I mean, doing makeup on a face type and a skin type that you are not used to isn't easy, you know? I've done makeup for full casts before and struggled, you know? I'm not a trained makeup artist anywhere near the level of this woman, but I've seen makeup artists at the level of this woman do people dirty, you know? There's that infamous picture of Beyonce where people thought that she had like used bleach on her skin or something because it just came out looking so bad. I do myself dirty sometimes because products are not always made for people who have, you know, unique melanation. Like, I was orange in my last video. I was orange in my last 2 videos. Let's be honest with each other here. Anyways, I am fixing to borrow all of this woman's makeup tips that she used for Quannah because they're gorgeous. I'm gonna cycle back to all of this in a moment, but for now, I just really want to bring it home. I saw this image of Chasinghorse and these 2 matriarch women who she brought with her, and I just assumed that this was like her hairstylist and her makeup artist. I fully thought that's what that was. And then when I did a bunch of digging, I found out that these are actually her aunties. They're the ones that brought the jewelry with them. This is like legitimate traditional Navajo jewelry, mostly Navajo jewelry, that her aunts allowed to be styled. And it all just came together like so perfectly. The woman in the 7th generation scarf is Jody Joseph, and this other woman here is Jocelyn Billy Upshaw. I'm pretty sure that these are both her aunties. Honestly, these are some iconic aunties, and I hope that they had a fantastic Met Gala night. Like, I want to know, like, behind the scenes, like, what did they do during the Met Gala, because I'm sure that they had a blast. This lady here is 19 years old. She is actually a baby. She's from Gwinchin, Alaska, and is part of the Sinkagoo or Oglala Lakota, which Hangwich refers to the people of the Yukon River, which is in Alaska, and then the Oglala are a tribe within the Lakota, and Oglala means to scatter one's own. I also have no idea if I pronounced any of that correctly. I don't speak any Lakota, and I don't speak any Inuk languages, so I'm sorry, guys. I did my best. The official tribal website for the Oglala will be linked below in my description box if you are curious about how they live their lives. You might recognize her from the cover of Vogue Mexico in this amazing ethereal beach shoot with the yellow dress and the poise. I love it. Cause like, it's so ethereal and so strong at the same time, and it makes me happy. She's also walked the runway for a number of brands. She did a shot with Calvin Klein, which is like a big deal for models. And she's even modeled for some indigenous bead artists. And I love that she has that mix in her portfolio of like doing stuff exclusively for the culture and doing stuff like on a super, super high professional level. Our girl is out here doing both, and I love it. I love it. Her tattoos are actually in the traditional Hangachwin style, the Alaskan style, and they were done by her mother, which I think is so cool. And also her mother did a really good job. Like, I don't know how many people her mom has tattooed in her life, but those lines are straight and even. If I were to have my mom give me a stick and poke, I don't think that she would be able to do it. My mom is also like white and Southern Baptist, so it's not her thing anyway. This style of tattoo is called Yidgatu. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce that. I couldn't find spoken pronunciation of it anyway. I'm gonna read her own words on her facial tattoos because I don't want to summarize it. She said that the lines represent overcoming generational and personal traumas, and to be able to bring back the tattoos is a really powerful thing. You feel empowered knowing that you're carrying on a tradition that was meant to be erased. And there's so much truth to that. The giddiness that I get when I speak my language, probably on par with the giddiness that she feels every single time she looks in the mirror. There's like this huge trend of everyone who is indigenous just like all at once over the past 5 years being like, we're taking the culture back. And I love that. I love that so much. Because like 5 years ago, there just was not this much going on. There were not this many young people that were proud to be Native. Even in my comment sections for my last video, I had people that were like, why the hell are you proud of this? Why do you like this? And like, I don't know if that was white people who were just like, on some bullshit, or if that was like other natives with like internalized racism, but like I think that we're all just collectively as a group just taking things back and enjoying our freaking birthrights, and it's great. I love it. I'm here for this energy. I'm sorry. I'm going to compose myself and continue reading the script as written. I'm just too excited about this. Anyways, this woman has literally turned up in AOC's office, like outside of the Met Gala before this even happened, to be like, hey, water rights, get on it. This woman advocates for Alaskan wildlife. This woman is keeping our culture alive, keeping her culture alive, and looking great while doing it. Because like, we are from two very different cultures. Lakota and Alaskan native cultures are very different from Shawnee culture, and they're also very different from each other, you know? We're actually a very diverse bunch of people that happen to get homogenized a lot. Okay, I already touched on the shocking lack of representation going on within her team, which I'm hesitant to call that a good or bad thing. Like, I know that these people did an amazing job, from the designers to the stylist to the makeup artist to the hairstylist. All of these people did an amazing job on her, clearly respected her, wanted to uplift her, wanted to share her story to the best of their abilities, and I love that. I love the support, I love the camaraderie, here for it. But also, like, I know that there are Native American stylists and designers that were not present at the Met Gala or a part of making it happen. It really got me thinking, how many Native designers had their work worn at the Met Gala? I couldn't find any on a Google search. Were there any Native bead artists that had their work worn on the Met Gala? Bead art is like a huge trend. Like, that is a thing that is just very much in the pop culture right now, partially because seed beads are cool again because 90s nostalgia, but also because like people are recognizing it for the gorgeous and time-consuming art that it is, and compensating the artists accordingly. How many Native American makeup artists were there behind the scenes? How many Native American hairstylists were there behind the scenes? I know these people exist, they're just not getting hired at gigs like this. And because these people aren't in visible positions, there's less accountability there. And like, I don't mean to like discredit how amazing this was, because this was amazing. This is a huge win. This is so worth celebrating. This was beautiful and amazing, and like, keep that high, keep the high from this, because I got a feeling we're gonna need it. But also, like, there is the other side to the coin, that there was one person that is indigenous and connected to their culture that showed up to the Met Gala. And there is one person who saw the prompt of America and immediately thought, let's honor, you know, indigenous American culture. Most of the looks don't really feel like they met the theme. This is actually a common critique that I've seen among tweeters and articles and things that I've stumbled through. Like, I think if you picked someone off the street and showed them 10 random looks from the Met Gala, they wouldn't have been able to find like the through theme. And I feel like with the years like camp, you could do that. You could figure out like, cool, we're doing kitsch, you know. With the Heavenly Bodies year, like, it was really obvious, like, everyone is dressed like the Sistine Chapel. I'm basically just borrowing Bevy Smith's argument right now, so I'm just gonna read her words because they're like super stuck in my head. Gotta get the quoting position ready. I'm seeing a lot of folks wearing looks far more appropriate for camp or Heavenly Bodies, and not a lot of American fashion either, which is disappointing. Bevy also pointed out the shocking lack of Black fashion designers, which I would not have immediately thought to search for because I'm a little hyper-focused. But this is part of the same problem. You know, when we're talking about representation for one group of people, we're talking about representation for all groups of people, you know? And yes, cultural appropriation is worth considering. I am actually really glad that no one showed up at the Met Gala wearing like a cheap, disrespectful headdress or some BS like that. However, BIPOC designers as a whole are so happy to style their designs on non-natives or non-Black people, and that's worth being aware of. Corinna Imrich, which I might not be pronouncing correctly either, she comes to mind with her designs, which are amazing and beautiful, and there's many other indigenous designers, and there's many other Black designers also, who are, I would say, a very deeply rooted part of American culture, and I don't see any reason why they weren't considered, except for, you know, the big labels and the big brands use the Met Gala as an advertising opportunity, and, you know, late stage capitalism and all that. But like, it would have been nice to see 7th generation, or, you know, some accessories by native beading artists, or, you know, like, there were so many opportunities to bring that in, you know? I'm also kind of disappointed that like that super iconic denim tuxedo and jeans dress didn't make a reappearance, because I feel like that is the most American thing to have ever happened ever, but that's beside the point, totally irrelevant. But seriously though, every Native American artist that I am aware of that sells their product has a statement somewhere on their website saying something along the lines of like, if you're not Native, please wear this, please tell people, you know, that I exist and I made this and you like it. And anyone who tries to argue that just like wearing something made by a Native person is cultural appropriation, I am not gonna have any patience for that, and you're just gonna get your comment deleted. I'm sorry. I'm all for free speech and I'm all for entertaining new ideas, but I'm tired. Also, like, I've seen some people try to make the argument that like Lil Nas X and Quannah Chasinghorse and like AOC and a couple of the other people who are very vocal and outspoken about things that need to be made better should have protested the Met Gala by not going, because the Met Gala doesn't agree with, you know, some of their anti-capitalist and some of their pro-social arguments that they make. And while I think there's kind of a point there, but like, what good would that have really done at the end of the day? If the Met Gala is not good at providing representation for non-Western beauty ideals and doesn't feature BIPOC and non-Western voices and cultures within their proper context, then like, what good is removing the teensy-tiny bit of good proper representation gonna do? This is why activist fatigue is a thing. This is why fatigue in general is a thing. Nothing is ever close to good enough for a giant mob of people, like Twitter. You can come out as a gorgeous piece of representation that makes everyone who look at it feel huge amounts of joy for the first time in months. But they're still just gonna say, psh, you should have stayed home in sweatpants to protest the institution of the Met Gala, and maybe made like an infographic or something. Like, what is the alternative here? Let people be pretty and have fun! To a point. No, but seriously though, this is such art. Like, I just look at this and there's such a sense of mystique. Like, all I can think is, what could she mean by it? I'm gonna stop being sarcastic now. Anyways, that is my hot take that nobody asked for. Occupy space indigenously and do it wherever you have the opportunity to. That is my goal for myself. That is my wish for all of my indigenous babes out there. And babes is gender neutral in my head. If you look good, you're a babe. That's the law. It's my brain law. Anyways, I have been Maya. This has been a indigenous flavored rant about fashion, and it was a good time. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. We're all here celebrating all the cool stuff that Native people do. I do have some other stuff in the work along this same vein. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of like a deep dive into the Moon Sisters, who are fantastic dancers. If you don't know who they are, you should soon. So stick around for that. Normally on this channel, I do costume and fashion stuff, but I mostly tend to sew alternative fashion like Lolita and hype up other sewists and fiber content artists for the community. And on my second channel that I just made is where I put all of my tutorials for my PDF sewing patterns that I sell online. The size range for those are astronomical, all the way from a size 23-inch waist to a size 60. And by the way, thank you so much for watching the video all the way to this point. It's awesome that you were interested in what I had to say, and so much so that you actually stayed all the way to the end. According to my analytics, that's actually pretty rare, and according to everyone else that I talk to that does YouTube stuff, it's pretty rare for people to stay like all the way through the video. So it's really a huge compliment. If you liked the video enough to stay all the way to here, please remember to give it a like, because that makes it so that more awesome people like you can see it. And if you want to see me in the next one, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you again. My Ko-fi is where you can find all of my printable sewing patterns, and it's also where you can support me and this channel and the other channel. I currently have a goal to raise $400, and that will cover all of my expenses from January up until February. It's my breaking even goal. And once that's funded, I'm gonna release 2 free sewing pattern PDFs. We're on a shoestring budget over here, but we're making it work, as I'm sure you can tell. Anyways, Henguchi Nila, bye friends! Let me check and make sure this is recording. Yes, it is. It would suck if it wasn't, but just... I'm so excited that I can't like get the words out. Ah! Anyways, which is fine, I get it. But at the same time also like things that can be studied and talked about and are super cool and people think they're cool now, and that's awesome because I've always thought it was cool and now I get to talk about it and that's great. Ah! This is why I always wait a day after typing up my script so that I don't just keep like this.